The name of my project is Dead Blood. It's a story about human survivors in a zombie apocalypse. It's set in New York City. The only difference between this story and other zombie stories that you may have seen on TV or read in literature or comic books is that there's a competition at the top of the food chain, and zombies aren't the only ones on the top of that food chain. One night, late at night, the human survivors get an offer they can't refuse from a group of undead creatures called Nosferai, which you may know as vampires. So there's kind of this battle at the top of the food chain for the human survivors. I've always been fascinated by the zombie genre. Zombies make a great substitute for any social ill. A creative writer can really get their point across as far as what they want to tackle, whatever particular issue that they want to tackle. I mean, during the Civil Rights Movement, Night of the Living Dead came out, and I believe just after Martin Luther King Jr. died. And that was a very important film, and it really did have a lot to say. It was one of the first times that you had an African American male lead in a movie. So, and especially at the end of that movie. And then you get Land of the Dead, which really highlights the separation between the have and the have-nots, and how that continues to grow. And we see it in our society today. You know, Dawn of the Dead is a statement on American commercialism. So, you know, I definitely have something to say with the story. As great as it is to make a story and make a horror story, you know, I always want to infuse a message in it, and there's definitely a message. It's not preachy, but I think that some people will really, really get it. And it's a message some people may agree with. It's a message some people won't agree with, but it's there. So, you know, I hope people get something out of it other than just blood and guts. That's my intention. It's my hope. Okay, that's a two-part question, so we'll go with part one, which would be the vampires. The vampire, it's never been more popular. It's in books, it's in movies, it's in TV shows, it's in commercials. But I've always been a fan of the more traditional vampire. And I went right to the source. I went to the novelization of Dracula. And in the original novel, Dracula smells like death and decay. He's got a mouthful of needle-sharp teeth. And that's the image that I have. I went right to the source, and I try to keep it as faithful to the original Dracula novel as possible. And the second part to that question is, what is a dead blood? When a human gets bit by a zombie, you know, they undergo this nightmarish transformation from a living human being to somebody who becomes very ill and sick, and then a cannibalistic empty husk. And I thought it would be appropriate if some sort of change happened with the vampire coming into direct contact with zombie blood. If they've got bit or inadvertently tried to feed on a zombie, they would become a dead blood. Similar to zombie, they actually crave not the blood, but they crave the flesh of their own kind. So they completely lose the taste for human flesh and strictly hunt other vampires. And they are just going for the carcass, the meat. They don't even drink blood anymore. So that's what a dead blood is. It's kind of garish and gross, but it's mine. I've always wanted to write a horror story. I've written, superhero and even comedy, but I've been a huge fan of horror. I've been a huge fan of the subgenres of zombie and both vampire. I just thought that it was a unique way to kind of meld, these two types of stories and make it mesh logically, so that it was natural. And I got that idea from actually watching a program. It's a nature program. I think I saw it on Animal Channel. It was about hyenas and African lions and how they would literally fight each other. And they had these hyenas that were specialists in hunting lions, and so on and so forth. And I was just watching that, and I kind of applied it to zombies and vampires, two of the things that probably consume my thoughts throughout most of my day. So it was pretty natural for me to mix the two together in a cohesive story. Okay, so shamble or run. This is an issue that has divided the zombie community for decades, and I have my own personal opinion, and I took more of a scientific and biological point of view. And actually, throughout my story, I actually try to explain a lot of why zombies do what they do from a biological or scientific process. And the way they move is one of those things that I try to explain. And in my story, when a body dies, when a person dies, the body is still very loose and limber. And so rigor mortis has not set in yet. And so they're able to run, but not as you've seen like Usain Bolt or Carl Lewis or anything like that. But it's they can move, and then after a while, once rigor mortis does begin to set in, then they become much more stiffer, and it's almost like an achy walk. Like it hurts for them to move, to walk. There's a lot of cracks and a lot of breaking sounds, and that's only because the rigor mortis is breaking as they're moving. And then once the rigor mortis breaks, just like in a human body, they become loose and limber again. But it's nothing that a person of my generous proportions can't outrun. So if it ever happens, guys, I think you'll be able to outrun them, at least in stage 2 and stage 3. My main protagonist is a gentleman by the name of Chris Barnett. He's an African-American firefighter in New York City, in the heart of New York City. I use New York City as my backdrop because I was born and raised in New York City. And pretty much everything I've read was based out of New York City. All the comic books, the backdrop was New York. So growing up, I always thought it was a little odd that there was never a zombie story with such a big backdrop, especially in today's day and age. We live in a very high-strung day and age, and to have the backdrop be New York, I thought was appropriate. But it was more so appropriate for me because it was familiar. It's where I was born and raised. It's the place that I love the most. And so, to me, what is a hero? It's easy to go, he's a soldier, he's a mercenary, or something like that. But my hero, in real life as well, have to be New York City firefighters, bar none, bravest people on the planet. And so I made my main protagonist a rookie New York City firefighter. And I wanted to make him a rookie because I wanted everything to be new to him, even just running into a fire, which most people would never in their right mind do. These guys do it, and I wanted to make that experience even new for him. It's easy to make a protagonist that has all the answers, and could do flips and jumps and shoot and all that stuff. But I think when a protagonist has the ability but doubts his own ability, I think it makes it a little bit more interesting. So he's my main protagonist. I think he represents who I am. I think he represents very well what the story is, what the story is about, and I hope I did Chris Barnett and New York City firefighters justice. You know, when people finish reading the graphic novel, and I kind of hinted on it before, but there is a deeper meaning and a deeper message without really being preachy to what is in the story, what makes the story important. It's great that you can satisfy the insatiable appetites of horror fans, because they're kind of ravenous zombies themselves, but you know, I myself being one of those ravenous zombies, but you know, I want the deeper meaning to come out, and whether it's something that people agree with or disagree with, I think as a creator, I would be a little disappointed if you know, somebody read the story and just thought it was a cool horror story, you know. So you know, I just hope people catch that subtle undertone in there. Sometimes it's not so subtle. Sometimes it's right in your face. But you know, I hope they catch that, and you know, I hope it makes them think a little bit. And I really do hope they enjoy it. I mean, that's my main goal. You know, I hope they enjoy it, but kind of get the deeper meaning behind it as well.